Perfect mess is my perfect mess. Perfect mess is my perfect mess.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing today? Welcome to the Perfect Mess podcast. I'm your host, Ray Molina, and I really want to thank you guys for coming by and checking me out, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you're listening to this. I really appreciate it, or watching it. I hope you guys are in good spirits. I know we are all in some very interesting times right now, and they're trying. Definitely trying. And if you are a parent, it's especially hard because we are all in a situation where we're having to homeschool our kids now. And that can be a different beast, right? I've definitely had my challenges with both of my boys, but we're making it. We're doing okay. And hopefully you guys are as well. I want to share something with you real quick. Our principal of our school said something that hit me right in the gut, and it made sense. And she basically said, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if your children are pushing back and they seem frustrated and seem irritated, to understand that something like this pandemic that's going on right now all over the world has never happened, never. And to understand that every kid is in the same situation. That you shouldn't beat yourself up as a parent and feel like you're not doing enough, and you shouldn't beat your kids up over it, and be grilling them and getting on them so tough. Give them a break when they need a break, and don't treat it like they're at school from 8 o'clock until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Like, understand that every kid is in the same situation. So they're not falling behind. They're not struggling more than the next. Everybody's in this situation, and when we all come back, we're all going to have to deal with it and figure it out. So take it easy on your kids. Don't make it any more stressful than it is, and get through this. And for me, that definitely helped me to gauge how I was handling things with my two sons, homeschooling and whatnot. So hopefully, me sharing that with you, it helps you a little bit, because I do know I've had some friends that are so frustrated and they're trying too hard, to be honest. So stay at it, keep your faith, and know that you can get through this, and we will get through this, all right? So I'm just going to jump right into this, man. Like anything else that I do, I speak from me. I speak from experience. I speak from things that I've actually gone through. And things that I'm currently going through, or things that I feel like I can pass along to you, that are going to give you some insight as to how you yourself can get through situations, whatever it is that we'll be talking about. So today I want to talk to you about failure. I'm no stranger to failure. I have failed so many times in my life, miserably, at a lot of things. And it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I could admit that, to where I could own it. It's taken me years, lots and lots and lots of lessons from failing. To learn that there's some good that can come out of it. So a lot of us are failing right now, especially going through the things that we're going through right now. Some of us are stuck home in relationships that maybe we're failing already, and now that we're home and we are quarantined and we can't go anywhere, the true colors are really starting to show, and they're failing even worse. Maybe things are being acted out. The kids are seeing stuff. And it's tough. Some of us are failing in other areas in our life. Some of us are not being the person that we can be. Maybe we're not taking this moment in time to get better. Maybe we're indulging too much. Maybe we're drinking too much because we're stressed out. Maybe we're doing other things that are not productive to help us get through these certain situations that we're going through, this pandemic, this COVID-19 coronavirus that we're dealing with. And it's not just us here in America. It's everywhere. It's worldwide. And by now you know that. But maybe we're failing in different areas. You know, maybe we're failing ourselves. Maybe we're failing at our marriage. Maybe we're failing our kids. And we're having a hard time coming to terms with that. I want to talk to you about that and just failure in general. Failure is hard to accept, and it can be humiliating, big time, especially if it's something that you've tried, you know, you gave your all. It can be humiliating, and it could send you to a really dark place. Failure causes people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. I know the most recent thing that I failed at, as I'm very candid with you, is I failed at my marriage. And for a long time, it took a lot for me to say that. It took a lot for me to admit that I failed at my marriage, because I wanted to pawn that off on her. I wanted to pawn that off on circumstances. I wanted to pawn that off on whatever it was. But I have to take ownership in my part of why that failed. And that sucks, and it's hard, because I had a lot of people that were saying, man, you have the model marriage, you have the model family. And I'm not talking about friends. I'm talking about people that got to know us, other families that got to know us. I'm talking about the school, the principal, the PTA, where I was coaching, any of the little leagues, the football leagues, the flag football leagues, you name it, the basketball leagues. You have the model family. You have, wow, you guys are amazing. All of that. And it fell apart. And when it did, I wanted to run. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to show weakness. I didn't want to show anybody that I failed. I didn't want to show that part of me, because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to look weak. I was afraid. Failing at something that you tried so hard at can break you. I have a long history of playing sports. I played sports my whole life. I was a damn good football player, and I was a damn good baseball player. And I'll tell you, man, sports will give you humility. It will humble you. That's why I love coaching, because I love teaching kids. I love teaching people the experience of sports, the experience of winning, losing, of competing at its highest form, at your highest capability, and giving it all you got, enjoying the victories, but also embracing the losses and learning from them. Sports taught me a lot. It humbled me. It taught me that you can do everything in your power to win something. You can give everything you got. You can leave it on the court, like they say in basketball. You can leave it on the field, like they say in baseball and football. And you can still lose. You can still get blown out. Or you can lose by 1 point. You can lose at the last second. And there's something in that. I tell all the kids that I mentor, that I coach, that if you really, really embrace sports, sports can teach you something for your life, for the rest of your life. It can teach you about failing, and it teach you about succeeding and how to deal with it, how to deal with adversity. And I learned that really young in high school. There was a game that I always think about this game. Even now, I'm in my 40s, and I think we were ranked number 2 in our division, in the whole athletic league in our area for high school. We had an amazing team that year, and I was always a flanker. Flanker is basically a slot wide receiver, sometimes in the backfield, sometimes in the slot, and I'm a little guy. I'm only 5'6", so I used to just do the little out patterns or tuck and come up the middle and catch the ball in the middle because I was fast and I could shake people. But I remember we were playing a school. I went to Independence High School, but we were playing Santa Teresa High School, and it was raining. And if we had won this game, I believe we would have been tied for first place in our athletic division, which had a bunch of schools, some amazing schools, but we were top tier. And we were winning by a couple of points, and the rain was coming down, and I just remember a buddy of mine that I went to elementary school, this guy named Richard, he had been covering me the entire game. He was a cornerback, and first of all, it was really cool to see him playing, and then it was fun even playing against him. I had a really good game that game, but something happened in that game. We got pinned back into, I think, the 3-yard line on our side, and we were going to do a run play. So basically what was going to happen is they were going to pitch to my side, but I was on the line, lined up as a wide receiver, and my job was basically just to block my guys so that pitch out, our running back can come behind and take off. So I did that. Not knowing what's going on behind me, I'm blocking my guy, right? And I realize he kind of lets up and moves and just takes off. And I thought it was odd. I'm like, why would he do that? And I turn around and I realize that our running back had fumbled the ball. And he literally, all he had to do was when he got past me is slid, got the ball in the rain, and slid into the end zone. And they won the game. That was that. And I was devastated. I've never forgot that game. It taught me a lot about accepting failing, about loss, about taking it on the chin and coming back and getting better. Man, that game is a nightmare for me still. There's not much I could have done. I was blocking my guy. I had no idea we had fumbled the ball. And the guy didn't pick the ball up and take off running. He literally slid with the ball into the end zone because it was pouring rain. And that was that. But that game, I'll never forget it because it taught me a lot. And as you can tell, gosh, man, 30 years later, I'm still talking about it. Yeah, it's good to go through things like that oddly enough. Um, Failing can get us to lie to people that we love. You know what I mean? It can get us to lie to our friends, our family, and ourselves more than anything. Because if you haven't reached a point where you've accepted that you failed at something, you start lying to yourself. I didn't fail. I didn't fail. Somebody else failed. Hey, the running back failed. You know why? You know why I didn't fail? He did, because he fumbled the ball. You know what I mean? My marriage didn't fail. I didn't fail at my marriage. She failed. I didn't fail at my relationship with my parents. They failed. They failed me. I didn't fail with my friendship with so and so. They failed me. I did what I did to them because they failed me. So we blame people. In actuality, we're actually lying to ourselves. Because I know, because I did that for years. I did that for years. I had friendships that ended because I was too stubborn to admit that I was wrong. I was too stubborn to admit that I had failed them as a friend. That I was sorry, that I messed up. And you get defensive. You push people away. And all of these things make it worse. They don't help. They make it worse. But there's something that is special about failing. For me, I'll be honest. I started to find out where my so-called gift was when I started accepting my faults, when I started accepting my failures, when I started saying, you know what? This is me. This is who I am. I'm a failure. I have not been as successful as I may have wanted to be in business. I have hurt people. I haven't been the best friend. I haven't been the best family member. I haven't been the best son. I haven't been the best. Whatever it is, I haven't been the best. And when I decided to not hide anymore, when I decided that I wasn't going to lie to me anymore and that I wasn't going to lie to anybody. And when I finally said, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I don't care what they're going to say. I don't care what they're going to DM me. I don't care what they're going to say on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't care what they're going to text me. I don't care what anybody is going to say about me. But this is who I am. I failed. When I made that decision is when I started to come alive, is when I started to really become who I needed to become, who I really was. Because you know who I was? I wasn't me. I wasn't the person that was in here, that was in my heart. I was the person that people wanted me to be. And you know how hard it is to upkeep something like that? When you know that you're struggling to do that, and eventually you're going to hit a point where you're going to break, and then you're not going to have any excuse for why things changed for you, and you're going to have to own up to it. There is something special when you hit that point and you finally say, I accept my failures. I accept my shortcomings. I accept the areas that I need work. And when you finally say, I don't care what anybody thinks, this is me. And I love me. I choose me. There's something special in that. We think that we're fighting against people that are going to judge us, in our head. We're fighting against people that are going to make comments about us. People that are going to say smart stuff behind a computer screen, or friends that are going to say bad things or going to judge us, or family members that aren't going to have us around when the holidays are around. And you know what? None of that happens. The war is right here, right in your head. 100% true. And this isn't no guru, inspirational, motivational speaker BS. This is not what that is, because I'm not that. I'm not sitting here in a tie and a suit with a little headset and some fancy jewelry and looking like I'm worth $1 million and trying to give you all these tips on how you can become a millionaire and all that. Nah, I don't do all that. I'm never going to do that. I'm just going to give it to you the way you need to hear it, because it's the way I needed to hear it. And maybe you watching or listening need to hear it as well. Maybe you do, because maybe nobody in your life is giving it to you the way you need to be heard. But I'm going to give it to you that way. You know why? Because that's what I needed. When I was younger, I was drawn to people who were leaders. I was drawn to bosses at my jobs and coaches and people like that who were, in other people's terms, were mean and too hard to work with and too difficult. Oh, I hate that coach. He's always yelling. He's always on me. I hate that guy, that boss. He's too hard to work. He expects too much. And you know what? Those are the people that I was drawn to. You know why? Because I knew if I had something in me that I couldn't find and that I didn't think I had in me, they were going to pull it out of me. They were going to pull it out of me. I used to work, when I first got out of high school, I worked at Target. A lot of you who know me know I worked there for a couple of years. I used to work for this guy named Charles, and every employee at that Target hated him. Too difficult to work with. He's a jerk. Any name in the book, you name it, they were calling him that. And the day that they told me I was taking over 2 departments and I was going to be under him, I accepted the challenge. Charles was hard. Charles was like he had that military mind state of how he liked things done at the store. But his numbers were the best numbers in the store. And quickly I understood why. You want to hear something? Charles became a mentor to me. Charles became one of my biggest inspirations at that store. He was way older than me. I was 19, 20 years old. But I learned a lot from him, and I excelled. When I was playing high school baseball, my coach, Rudy Mendoza, cut me from my frost-off team my freshman year. Cut me. I played Little League with him, and I was always one of his favorite players. I was one of his best players. When I got into high school, he ended up taking the frost-off job at my school. And here I come, strutting like I got the job locked, right? I'm in. You kidding me? That's my coach from Little League. He loves me. Here I come. Tryouts. Make the first cut. Make the second cut. I'm good. Make the third cut. Make the fourth cut. Come cut number 5. Walk into that locker room. Looking at that list. My boy standing next to me. He's like, "I don't see your name, bro." I'm like, nah. Hold on. Damn, I don't see my name. Yeah. I go in the office and he cut me. You know what he told me? You come here and you half-assed these tryouts because you think because you played for me that I'm just going to let you come and you're going to play and you don't got to do any work. What you don't understand is there are kids from all parts of San Jose that want to play baseball, and a lot of them play the position you play, and they're hungry, and they don't know me, so they're trying to impress me. And you came in here and didn't give me nothing, and he cut me. I failed. A lot of my friends probably don't even know that story from school. I failed bad. I tucked my tail. I went home and I cried, man. I cried. I was a freshman in high school and I cried so hard. 2 weeks later, Rudy calls me back because somebody didn't make grades. And he asked me if I'm ready to play baseball. And I said, "You cut me." And he said, "Are you going to sit here and cry about it? Or do you want to play baseball? Because if you want to cry about it, get out of my office. I don't have time for it. Do you want to play baseball or are you going to cry because you got cut?" I said, "I want to play baseball." "Then go put your stuff in the locker and get out in the field." I loved Rudy for that. A lot of people didn't like Rudy. They said he was too hard. Said he had a foul mouth. He's always cussing. I loved him for that. I loved him because Rudy always got that. He got that extra, whatever it was out of me. He always had that gift of pulling it out of me. And I loved him for that. Rudy passed away a few years back in his home in Arizona. And yeah, that was a very sad phone call for me to get. And if the Mendoza family is listening right now or watching, or any of his kids are, Rudy, I love you for that, man. And I miss you. That changed me forever. You made me a better man. You made me a better student. You made me a better athlete. And you definitely made me a better man for that. Again, everybody, failed. I failed. There are lessons to be learned when you fail. I'm going to go back to the war in your head. Our greatest strength is accepting that we failed and knowing that the war isn't outside. It isn't with anybody who's watching or anybody who's going to find out. The war is here in our brains and in our hearts. If you can win the war in here and in here, the war outside ain't nothing. Trust me. Because once you're okay with who you are and you've accepted your shortcomings, you've accepted your failures, there's nothing anybody can do to you. Because you've already accepted it. You guys remember that scene in 8 Mile? If you've seen 8 Mile? When they were in the classic scene, when they were in that underground hip-hop club and everybody was trying to take shots at Eminem. And he already knew what they were going to say because it's what everybody had been saying about him. All of his shortcomings, his skin color, where he comes from, the trailer park, and his mom, her drinking and her drugs, and his girl sleeping around. Like, he knew it all. And he accepted it. So when they were using these things against him, if you remember, none of it worked because he had already hit a point where, yeah, I am all those things. And guess what? I'm still here. That's where you have to get. You have to get right there. There are a lot of people that know that I didn't succeed at a lot of the things I was trying to succeed at. A lot of people give me kudos for doing everything that I did musically. Touring and, getting a record deal at one point and doing all these things. And yeah, I succeeded a little bit, but in the end, I failed because I lost the most important thing that was in my life. I lost my family. And there are a lot of people that are still doing music right now that I'm sure they got some choice words for me. But you know what? There's nothing they can say that's going to affect me because I've accepted where I failed. I've accepted it. And I'm okay with it. I've won I've won the battle here in my brain. I've won the battle in my heart. And I'm at peace with it. That's where you have to get. Again, I'm not here to give you advice, but if you need to hear this, I'm here to give it to you. You got to win the war in your head and in your heart. I'll say this. Most of you already know failing's inevitable, okay? Some of us fail more than the next person. But the fact is we all fail. But I want to share something with you. Someone told me not too long ago this saying, and I love this saying. And it goes like this. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. I'll say it again. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. You notice how I didn't say lose? Because if you're smart, when you don't win, you learn something. So you can come back and give it another shot. Because you figured out what you did wrong. Let me say it one more time. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Words from that pipe saying that I just said. Words from a good dude that I follow on Instagram by the name of Sean Whalen. She usually says that when it's something that you just need to hear and you need to kind of hold on to. He's a great follow on Instagram. If you don't follow him, follow him. Sean Whalen. Definitely been an inspiration for me. I'm currently reading right now. A lot of you guys know that I read. I love reading. Now, I wasn't always a reader. I was the guy who, the minute I opened a book and got to reading the first page, I was dozing off. And then 4 years ago, I started getting into reading and learning and trying to get better at things in my life. So I started reading all sorts of books. The current book that I'm reading is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, it is a very legendary book, and from what I understand, it's about to come up on the 25th anniversary of when the book was released. Robert Kiyosaki said this, and this is another nugget that I think you should hold on to because I'm definitely holding on to it. He said, "Stay stupid, so you are always learning." In other words, if we hit a point where we think we know it all, we stop learning. And we start missing the lessons that are the most valuable in life. So he said, stay stupid. And I thought it was funny. I actually laughed about it. And I highlighted it in the book and I said, wait a minute. Stay stupid so you're always learning. And then I heard him on a podcast by Lewis Howes. If you're not familiar with Lewis Howes, he has a podcast called The School of Greatness. While I'm reading this book, Robert Kiyosaki pops up on Lewis Howes' podcast, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. I got excited. I don't know, I'm kind of a nerd now. But I got excited, so I listened to the podcast, and he said it again. And I love the saying, man. Stay stupid so you're always learning. And I think that's a great way to live, so we minimize our failures. If you're always learning, you're getting better. And isn't that what this is all about? That's what it's all about for me. I'm trying to get better as I get older. Because if you're getting older and you're not getting better, what does that say about you? What does that say about your self-discipline? What does that say about you being an adult? It says a lot about you. Learning doesn't stop when school's over. It doesn't. For a lot of us, school really kicks in. And education really kicks in once high school and college are over. Then you actually really start learning. You know why? Because you're actually living life. And I think life teaches you the lessons that you really need to learn. I know it has for me. I want to say this. And I said it earlier. My greatest asset that I have is not what I thought it was. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I'll be honest with you. I thought at one point I was going to be a baseball player. I thought at one point I was going to play football. I thought at one point I was going to be a very, very successful artist. And I thought that was my calling. And, I'm not dead. Who's to know? Maybe it will be at some point. I thought I was going to be a fantastic booking agent because I was booking tours for a lot of people. Successful tours. And then that took a turn. I thought so many things were going to be my calling. And I'll tell you what. You know what I found out about myself after I had hit rock bottom? And when I finally said, I'm done being in denial. I'm done hiding who I am. I'm going to live exactly the way I'm supposed to live. I'm going to show people who I really am. I'm going to be candid. When I don't feel good, I'm going to admit it. When I'm hurt, I'm going to admit it. When I'm happy, I'm going to tell people why. When I'm doing great, I'm going to tell people why. When I'm in the dump and I feel like a complete failure, I'm going to tell people why. I am going to share everything about me. I'm going to give the world my entire being. And then I'm going to let it ride, and I'm going to see where it takes me. That's what this is. I've got people messaging me telling me that they see a bright future of one day you're gonna be a speaker. One day people are gonna pay to come see you speak. One day people are gonna, want to go to a conference that you're speaking at. One day people are going to want to read a book that you've written. One day people are going to really rant and rave about this podcast you're doing. It's going to have thousands and thousands of, maybe even millions of people that listen to your podcast. I have no clue what's going to happen. I don't know if any of that's going to happen. All I know is things started to change for me when I finally accepted my failures. I started to accept my shortcomings. No longer am I going to fight with myself and struggle with all these things. I'm going to just accept them. And I'm going to move forward. If I can tell you anything, embrace your failures. Fail. And do not be ashamed of failing, because you know what failing means? It means that you tried. It means that you had the nerve, the audacity to try something. And when I tell you that, don't just try, don't be safe. Try things that people say you can't do. There's no possible way you can do it. People are going to laugh at you. Give whatever it is you're doing in your life your all. And if you fail, learn from it. Wear it. Own it. Accept it. Get up, dust yourself off, and get back in the game. You have to get to a point where you say yes to things that you would never say yes to. Because you want to try and test yourself. You want to see, am I good enough to get through this? Can I succeed at this? My friends tell me don't do this because it's too hard. Or my mom and dad say, don't try that. No one in the family's ever done that. And that's not what we do. Go the safe route, do this. Try doing things that you've never tried before. And if you fail, you failed, but you tried. Take the lesson. Remember, sometimes we fail, sometimes we win, and sometimes we learn. Okay? Take the lessons for what they are and run with them. Get back in the game. Get back on the horse, whatever you want to call it, and try again. My whole life has been filled with failures. And look at me, I am still here. And all I put out there is positivity. Even when I'm struggling, I give it to people. I tell people I love them. I give them everything positive that I have. If you follow me on Instagram, I always end any message that I give on Instagram on my IG stories. It's usually with I love you or God bless. To complete strangers. I give it to them. Live your life unapologetically And fail, but learn, and get better. Don't be afraid of failing. It's inevitable. You're going to fail. I failed, and I'm going to fail some more. And I'm okay with it. Hell, this podcast might fail. And if it does, I'll come anew doing something else. It is what it is. But I'm not afraid. And I'm trying. Hell, I didn't even want to do video. But my good buddy told me, you know what? You need to do video. You have to do video. Because a lot of people don't listen to podcasts. A lot of people watch them. So, against my own will, I just said, the hell with it. I'm going to do video. So, fail. But learn. And embrace it. Wear it. That's where my true freedom came. It came when I started to accept everything for what it is. And I'm telling you, I have never been more happy. I have never been in a better place. I walk with my head high. I'm a better father. I'm a better friend. I'm a better son. I'm a better brother because I've got nothing to hide anymore. I don't. There are still some people that I would love to run into to say that I apologize for things in the past. And I will. I'll get there. People that I failed. I'll get there. I'll leave you with that. Fail, but learn and keep it moving. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night, a wonderful day wherever you're at. I love you guys. You have a couple of places you can follow us. You can like our Facebook page. It's the Perfect Mess Podcast on Facebook. Or you can follow us on Instagram at the Perfect Mess Pod. And we also have a Patreon page if you would like to donate and get some cool stuff. All right. That's patreon.com/theperfectmesspod. I'm your host, Ray Molina. And what you see me wearing right here is a little something that I print up all the time. You can get those at my website as well. Blessed Side. It's a hashtag that I use on Instagram and my social media. All right. I love you guys. Hey, stay safe out there. Stay healthy. And don't worry, man. We're going to get through this pandemic. It's going to be fine. We're going to be okay. Stay strong. And if you're a parent, stay with that homeschooling, all right? We're going to be all right. And don't go so hard on your kids, okay? Because every kid in the world is going through this right now. So you're doing enough, okay? I love you guys. God bless. I'll talk to you soon. Your boy, Ray Molina, the Perfect Mess Podcast. Peace.
Perfect mess is my perfect mess.